So you moved the mountain is the message, but you moved the mountain, and then when you moved the mountain, even at the top of the mountain, you couldn't have possibly seen the effect that moving the mountain had. So you thought there was more to do, more that had to come from pain, right? Because you're like, well, obviously I'm not all the way up the mountain. You were, but you were being elevated to see from a higher perspective what it really looks like to move that mountain. So looking down on the mountain, you now can see the perspective of just how much you've accomplished, right? So it's not that there was more from you. It's not that there was a punishment of a waiting period. It's just you were being gifted a higher perspective to be able to look down at the scene that just unfolded of you moving this mountain. It was something that wasn't supposed to be able to be accomplished, even though it was something that you were always going to accomplish. It's something that many tried to stop you from, because not everyone has to move the same mountain, right? And they wanted to convince you not to move yours because it felt like that would give you too much power over those who would have liked to hold you back. There's a feeling of almost like the mountain turning into a volcano. And now you're looking down at the mountain and you're realizing that you can kind of go in and explore and be able to use from the shadow side perspective what you've gone through, because you've healed enough to befriend your shadows. So now they can be used to your advantage to help others with their shadows, because you found the Holy Grail. Inner discovery, finding sacredness. You are what you seek. And tell me if this is upside down, that does not look like the perspective of looking into the volcano. You've stayed okay when everything in your life got flipped upside down, so that now you can use it to your advantage to make a big mark in the world and show the world what you've overcame and how you're going to use that to help others overcome. There's about to be a pivot in your career there's about to be a pivot in your career because you've made strides or progress on clearing a certain money wound. You've released something that was holding you back. It's like you're ready to be seen in a light that in the past would have felt too bright for you. And you're confident in your ability to fill the space that is your space to fill. It's like before there was this energy of kind of shrinking yourself when in the spotlight, hiding yourself when in the spotlight. And now you're ready. Like you are ready to step forward and not feel too overwhelmed by, my phone almost died. Not feel too overwhelmed by all eyes being on you. Not feeling too drained by all eyes being on you. There was something that you wanted to open up or manifest in your path that it kept feeling like it was just out of reach, just out of reach, just out of reach. You still have to reach out and grab it, but it's in reach now. It's in the distance that is reachable now. And that's a tower, a good tower. But it's the dismantling of any paradigms that were previously holding you back, any mindset shifts that were keeping you stuck in a cycle of longing for times to be easier financially so that you could have more time to work on your craft or more space to work on your craft. It's like you're getting granted more time to be able to devote to strengthening what you already have, because you're not going to have to be quite as worried about the financial element of it as this pivot comes in. And again, you still have to reach out and grab it, but it's now in the distance that is reachable for you. And where there previously was a blockage in creativity or something related to like solar plexus chakra, that's a little bit of what was tied in with the money wound. It was like they were tied in together and the cord between them has been cut. So you now are able to kind of free yourself up to walk forward where there previously was blockages. The wheel is turning in your favor. You can kind of feel this pressure building, right? And you kind of have experienced this in cycles before, where you know innately that the building up of pressure means you're building towards a release, right? So what is it that you are releasing, and what are you stepping into because of the release? So you are stepping into your eternal self because of the release of a self-realization, right? So you realized who you are and you're releasing what you are not. You are releasing the layers of not self that you picked up as protection from the world, because now you have the discernment to not need those layers in the way you once did. So you're shedding what you're not and stepping into who you always were. It just was on the other side of some layers that were necessary for a period of time, but they're not necessary anymore. What do we need to know about this? You've done all the work already. You've already defeated, like, think of it like Pac-Man, the little guy that chases Pac-Man. You've already defeated that level. Now it's just about finding your way out of the maze. It's just about finding your way out of the maze. What was sent to stop you has already failed. It's already done. You already are the victor in this situation because you've shed the layers. You didn't get held back in the past. You've shed the layers of what was not you. And if you haven't shed them yet, you've at the very least identified them. So there's no holding you back now, because once you align with your power, once you know who you are, you know that those things that were sent to stop you could never have stopped you because of who you are. So once you are that and you know that, you become in this energy of an unstoppable mindset that's able to maneuver around any obstacle put in the path. So it's not that the weapons won't form, it's just that they won't prosper. And you know that now too, because you've witnessed it unfolding. Even when you had the layers of not self, even when you had those layers of protection that you needed to kind of hide yourself until you were ready to step out into the light of who you are, even then you couldn't be stopped. So what's going to stop you now? You are being presented with a choice: evolve or remain. You already made your choice. You just need to action it. Where they went wrong was they forgot to see if their plan really worked before they just assumed it was going to. They took you over to a cliff and threw you off of it, thinking that there'd be no way that you could get back up. They just threw you and walked away. But on the way down, you caught yourself on a little ledge or a tree branch, and step by step, you climbed your way back up. They never took that into account as being a possibility of what could happen. So not only are they shocked by your ability to climb back up, not only are they shocked by your divine protection that you did not meet your demise when they threw you off the cliff, but they're in awe of the fact that after all of that, you're not out for revenge. You're not out here becoming like those who hurt you. You're simply taking what you went through and trying to prove to others that they can get out of a similar situation too. You have risen above every lid they've placed on your potential. And you have uprooted and replanted yourself time and time and time again. Even with lack of clarity, even with bad habits or not the best state of mind, you've still found the light to hold on to pick yourself back up at least a little. And you kept going. And they are in awe, like they are, of you because they never could have. Like if they recognized in that moment that they got through off the cliff, mentally they would have given up, because it would have been them seeing that if they were to get back up, they'd have to do it all on their own. And they would not have been strong enough to do that. So don't let them make you feel below, because they threw you so that you'd be below, and you still climbed back up. You shouldn't have had a chance in hell to be able to make it back up, and you did. And they're shocked. And the truth is that even in the stormiest of waters, even when you were feeling at your lowest, they were even impressed then with how you were standing toe to toe with the darkness and not giving in and not giving up. This whole time they wanted to make you feel weak because they knew that you were anything but weak. Someone is pressed that you did not respond or react in the way that they thought for sure that you would. You've healed too much to not raise the bar on who has access to your energy. You didn't let them get to you, and they're used to being able to get some kind of like narcissistic supply off of your emotional reaction. Pulling you into an imbalanced state fuels them. And they were running on E, and you were the only gas station around, and they could not get that fuel from you. And they feel defeated. They feel like, I'm hearing that, what is it, like a meme or a sound? You're shocked? You're shocked? What, you're shocked? That. Like, they are utterly shocked that you actually cut the cord or pulled your energy back, but they shouldn't be, because it should be obvious to them by now that that access is denied, because you've grown and they refused to go where they would grow, and around you they would grow. So they pushed you away and then made you feel like it was your fault. And then they expected to still have access to you after betrayal, after sabotage. You did not stoop down to their level. You didn't match energies. I'm hearing you are not a babysitter. This person, you're not mommy. You're not a babysitter. You aren't there to force this person to change what they're unwilling to face. You want it to grow with this person, but you're not going to raise this person. And that's where you had to pull your energy back, and they didn't think you would. They did not think you would. But you have this fresh new beginning of passion, and all they do is drain you. So it's this new passionate beginning or this person. And that's not something you want it to happen. That's a choice that this person made by refusing to grow. Refusing to grow. So 3 pieces, I almost want to say of evidence, or of like a tool. 3 tools that you're bringing through which door. So almost like your angels are kind of handing you over these things so that you can bring them with you into this unfolding chapter. Grounding, key of light, and divine grace, law of efficiency. That's pretty direct. So rooting into the knowledge of who you are, feeling confident, feeling secure in it. And then you're given a key to take through the doorway and use in a very simple yet efficient way. It's like you've kind of known from a complicated standpoint what this key that you're being given holds, but you're getting the ability to simplify it in a way that's easily digestible and shareable and usable. It's like you learned, it's like you read the whole book and now you're reading the spark notes. And you already know all the info, but reading the spark notes kind of refreshes you and reignites the spark as you go through the door. Solar light upgrade, solar plexus, chakra, inner fire, and willpower. It's like your inner child is bursting out and getting expression through your adult self. Whereas before, it was almost like either your adult self was expressing or your inner child was expressing. They've rejoined. It's one expression now. Good job. Somebody from your past recently got more or less forced awake when it comes to you. It's like they had this blinder on for the entire time, but now they see very clearly, night and day difference, that they were perceiving you in the entire wrong way. This has been quite a wake-up call for this person in more ways than one. It's making them realize that what they thought they were seeing as truth was kind of deception from their own shadows, right? It's like they were projecting their own shadows onto someone who was a mirror, and hence believing that those shadows were coming from the person who was actually a mirror for what they needed to heal. So this person has recently seen you in a new light, and they realized that everything that they threw at you, intentions, words, actions, was all in vain, because they almost thought they were serving a just cause here, and then recognized that that was not the case. Almost like a I'll teach a lesson, or they deserve it type of thing. And then they took a step back from a different perspective and realized that that was not the case. And while you learned a valuable lesson from this person's role in your life, you did not deserve the means in which it was delivered, the lesson. So this person is experiencing, it's almost like pending karma. It's like the karma's not here. It's like this person needed to have a shift in perspective so that they could see that they were actually deserving of the karma that they're going to receive, because first they had to see how wrong they were about you. And that is happening one step at a time. It's not that they're getting blasted with karma. That would almost be easier. This is like a slow awakening in which layer by layer they have to admit how wrong they were about you. And that will be one of the most difficult parts of their karma. Not that it doesn't get worse, not that there's not more 3D stuff, but internally, they never thought that they would have to admit that they were wrong about you. And that's the first step that is unavoidable in their healing now. If whatever this card is invokes some kind of either goosebumps or emotional reaction in you, then the following message is for you. Through healing, your history becomes the story that sets you free. If that gave you some kind of pool of emotions, then this is for you. So you know how there's that came in and swept me off my feet energy that you can get from another person? You're about to experience that with yourself. Almost like a version of you that you felt was lost from you is going to come in and sweep you off of your feet in a way that allows you to... It's almost like you feel like you've lost this part of yourself because nobody else was able to mirror it back to you. And you're able to be a mirror for others of what they need to heal so they can see that for themselves. But it's like you've healed this, but nobody around you has gone what you went through and healed it, so they cannot accurately mirror back to you your own healing. So it's like you becoming almost like a mirror box for yourself, where any way you turn around, you can't help but see yourself from the perspective of this piece of yourself that feels like it's coming back to you, but not like was lost, more of like was a TV that had a like the fuzzy screen type thing. Yeah, coming back to you. So you're about to have a sweep you off your feet type moment, but not with another person, with yourself. With yourself. You are realigning with either your divine masculine or your divine feminine, whichever one you were a little bit more disconnected from. It's like that comes back to you in a very big and bold way. And your next chapter is going to cause a lot of people to wish they had treated you better. Big things coming. You become unstoppable when you're aligned with that deep of self-love. Okay, so hear me out. You're about to have not quite a download, but an upload. You're about to have information that kind of feels buried in your root chakra come back up and surface in a way that's usable. Something relating to either finances or career. It's like you are seeing the way to get to the end of the rainbow type energy, where everything that was previously holding you back from being aligned with your divine authority, like basically it feels like there's either direct handing it to you or a big piece of it being handed to you, almost like a kingdom job, right? So like, how can you bring the light onto the earth through something practical, through something 3D? That is coming to you. And it's not necessarily a download, it's an upload, because when you receive this information, it's going to be stuff that already exists in your immediate environment or like in close proximity to where you could reach out and grab it and use it right now. It's not anything that seems far out of reach. It feels like something that starts to happen with a few shifts in your life. So it really feels like, you know how they say kingdom spouse? It feels like kingdom job, but like how you are meant to bring in light in the way that's needed from your certain experiences, your certain perspective. It's like kind of giving light at the end of the tunnel. It feels like this is a long time coming. It feels like, see how the earth is like dug up there, and it kind of looks like when a woman gives birth, that area, you know what I mean? So it looks like male or female, masculine, feminine. It's this rebirthing of your light. That's what it is. It's like your light was kind of in protection, right? And now it's time to find the way that it's going to be let out into the world, if that makes sense. It's like this was already within you, that this was what you were grounding into reality, getting yourself ready to use it in this way. solar light upgrade, solar plexus chakra, inner fire, and willpower. The star, look, it's close up on this card. It's the light that's back there. It's coming out. So needing to allow your inner child to be what pulls it out of you. This is like you're getting the information and either needing to be in touch with your inner child to receive and understand the information, or your inner child is what part of you connect with to bring the light out. What looked like a blockage was a blessing, just a delayed one. But the blockage was a while ago, so the blessing is coming soon. You had to learn, I have cultivation in reverse and outside forces. You had to learn that you have the ability to manipulate the environment. Not manipulate like deceive, manipulate in terms of if there's not a path, you have the ability to create one. So you had to be blocked in order to discover your ability to do that. So you've been working really hard, star power, you've been working really hard on figuring out what path you really want to create for yourself. And you've been working really hard on bringing one puzzle piece at a time over to this path to kind of create this like star gate for yourself to walk through. And now you're moving up. Now you are climbing the tower to align with the power that you have innately within, that you had to go through the process of discovering and uncovering so you could believe in yourself. It's not that you didn't hold these abilities before. It's just that in order to fully turn the light all the way up, you had to believe it. And you had to go through certain trials and tribulations to be in the position to see it for yourself. Power position in reverse. You had to fall in order to rise. And now you are getting ready to, I want to say sail, and I think that that's like sail because you're in a state of flow. You're not in a state of forcing it. You're not in a state of swimming. You're in a state of sailing, like floating into this next chapter because you've done the work. You've done the work and you've been receiving signs about this impending change for yourself. Limitations are no more. Limitations in reverse. It couldn't get any more clear. There are no limitations in this next chapter. You are seeing clearly what you were sent here for and meant here for. It was other people. It was other people before that were draining your life force and not allowing you to see the truth of who you were. And God allowed that to happen so that you could have the experience of seeing that and choosing to disengage, choosing to believe in yourself anyway, choosing to not need their gestures, not need their approval, not even need their validation or support. You stood away from and stepped away from the crowd. They were not flexible. And see the bat there? It's like you had to make your moves very carefully, very concealed until now. Now you know who you are, and you know harmony, fast changes, and short term. Now you know who you are. The fireworks are coming. Harmony is coming. Fast. Faster than you think. You're going to start to see progress faster than you think. You're going to be what's lighting up the skies. With that star power, as you climb to the top, because you learned that if there's not a path, it just means it's waiting for you to create the one that you want for yourself. Good job. So a little while ago, there was a scenario in which you feel like you got turned around. I'm almost seeing like one of those roundabout roads, and it's like you felt like you were going in the right way, but you're questioning if you got off too soon, if you should have stayed and kept going around to the next exit on the circle. And essentially there was a dead end that you would have ran into if you would have went where you initially thought you were supposed to be heading to, if that makes sense. So all that to say, you are soon to get some kind of confirmation about the dead end. Look, you made the right decision. The wheel was not going to continue turning. It's like you almost need this to increase your confidence when it comes to trusting your intuition. Making sure that you're getting the right messages pointing you in the right direction, which you are. Yeah, because you picked the right exit. And I almost want to say, like, you exit it with the right attitude, or you exit it in the right energy, right? So it's like you didn't linger around and wait for approval, or like you made your decision and you're like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm doing this and I'm going to follow it. And it's almost like the lesson is not complete until you can see proof of the fact that you avoided some kind of dead end, because otherwise, how else would you know, right? So you are going to get some kind of either confirmation, information, you're going to hear something, see something about what kind of dead end you avoided. What kind of dead end you avoided. It would have been like a lesson that you didn't need to repeat learning, because you already got the character development from the last time you learned that lesson, right? So it's like there was no need for you to even venture down this path. It's not that you couldn't have handled the dead end. It's not that you couldn't have figured something out. It's not that it would have been catastrophic. It was just a lesson you didn't need to relearn. And in the mix, it was like, okay, let's throw in a test of intuition. If we just kind of like throw this, your guides to you, if we just throw this information, are they going to follow it? Yes. Okay, they followed it, but now let's give them proof of what they avoided. So it feels basically like you're going to soon get some kind of confirmation of a dead end that was avoided from following your intuition. That will help you increase your confidence in how you're receiving messages. I feel like that's it, because it's something in the way that like if you're usually clairaudient, or if you usually just get gut feelings, it's like this was a little different, but you followed it anyway. And it's almost like an opening up of a new way to get information that you needed confirmation was working, if that makes sense. This is going to be a little mini series. We're going to do a little reading for each of the 5 core wounds, which are rejection, abandonment, humiliation, betrayal, and injustice. What do you need to know about this wound right now for yourself? So we're going to start with rejection. Oh. The rejection wound that you deal with is that you have always cared so much more than what was given to you in return. It's like you have overgiven, you have overshared, you have overcared, because not overcared, but cared more. You've always been the one to care more. So even when there wasn't outright rejection, there was always a lack of even flow between give and take, between outgoing and incoming. And that was very hurtful for you, because you just wanted someone to meet you and be able to provide what you were able to provide in order of value. And it feels like others always kind of siphoned off of your value without even attempting to return the same value. But they threw rocks and hid their hands time and time again. Because although you might have felt rejected, what they were backing away from was knowing they could not give back what they were being given in terms of your ability to love and hold space for other people. There's a feeling of holding back from trying at times because you knew you had something to offer to the person or the situation or the conversation, but just not wanting to feel like you were pouring into a cactus almost. Like your emotions almost felt like they had dried up for some time, or that they were inaccessible for some time, simply because every time you tried to pour them out, there was nowhere for them to go, right? Or they weren't well received, or they weren't taking care of your thoughts, your feelings, emotions. And there's a feeling of you believing that you were disconnected from this side of you. And it wasn't necessarily a disconnection. It was more of like, what's the point in pouring out over and over and over again for people who cannot understand what I'm offering? And it feels like you were a lot of people's lessons that they did not get to learn until after your departure. Whereas for you, they were your lessons in the moment. They were your lessons of, can you see the difference between what you're offering and what is being reciprocated? It's almost like you started feeling forced to reject parts of yourself because you had to ignore them so that you didn't express them to people who could not value them or hold space for them. So subconsciously, or maybe even consciously, you try to push these parts of yourself down for some time so that they wouldn't flow out to people who just made you feel like you were wasting this good life force energy on someone who was just depleting or ignoring or avoiding or not ready to heal or grow, not ready to be aligned with love. And that was it. You could see that those you were pouring out to were not aligned with what you were offering. So it's like you didn't want to waste pouring it out when it would just kind of evaporate, because if you're not matching vibrations, if you're not on the same frequency, it's like it doesn't translate, it just isn't in that realm, right? You were offering them something that was too pure for what their system was able to process. So you kind of started to hold back yourself from yourself until you found that safe place, that safe space to express. So I think this is just a message of switching perspective on how you view the wound of rejection. Looking at it in the way of, you only rejected yourself because there wasn't a safe space to express. So you were holding back yourself until that space was created. And the other people who were rejecting you, or making you feel rejected, they could not accept you because they did not have the same vibrational, like, think of it as looking through 3D glasses, right? If you're not wearing the right glasses and you're looking at something that's 3D, it's just going to look all like wrong, right? It looks like there's too many colors and they're overlapping. It looks wrong. But when you put on the 3D glasses, that's pretty cool. Now it's jumping out at you. Now you can see something even more cool than you would have if it was just a regular screen with no glasses needed. That's what you bring to the table. You bring that 3D value, but they just didn't have the glasses. They couldn't appreciate that. They couldn't value that because they literally saw it as something else. They were not with the right tools to be able to interpret and really see you. I have a very direct channeled message. God has replaced all of their buts with ands. And what I mean by that is, when it comes to you, these people from the past, it used to be, yeah, you're talented, but yeah, you're good at that, but there was always a but. But they can't look at it that way anymore, because now there's an and. Yeah, you got knocked down and you stood back up. Yeah, you were blocked from using certain skills, talents, or abilities until you learned certain lessons, and you've learned them. Everything that was previously looked at as a roadblock was actually just a speed bump to make sure that you were ready to go in the direction that you were always going to head in. They were never going to stop you. All they could do was try and get you to slow yourself down, and that's where all those buts came in. They had to convince you that you were not capable of doing the things that are divinely ordained to be yours. That was never going to work. So before you really step into the next chapter, God made sure that before you close that door behind you, they can't be saying, well, there they go, but they're probably going to fail. All they can do is look at you and say, there they go. And I should have made the decision to go with them instead of work against them. That person, you, could have taught me how to stand back up when I got knocked down. But instead, they assisted in the knocking of you down. God said, okay, you're gonna have to watch my child rise now without being able to look away. So he took every one of those buts and you stood back up. See what message you need to hear about today. You are not selfish for wanting to be treated well. A little bit of a love reading here. Justice is coming here. It feels like something that fell apart in the past still doesn't all the way make sense as to why did I have to go through this in this way? Why did it have to trip me up so much or hurt as much as it did? Why did it have to hold me back from moving forward for as long as it did? Why did it push me into hermit mode for as long as it did? And there's a feeling of it all beginning to make sense. You had to learn the really, really hard way because you always try and see the best in people. You always try and see their higher potential. So in this case, you had to learn the really hard way what you do not want to accept. Not even just what you don't want, what you're unwilling to accept, what you're unwilling to put up with. And it's almost like you had to see it to know that you refuse to ever go back there. And that's the lesson here, is now you're in this energy of feeling like because you settled for so little, it's a big jump for what you now deserve and desire. But that is the completion of the lesson that helps you move forward, is that you deserve to be treated well. You always did. It was never that you didn't and now you're earning that. It's just that your soul chose to see firsthand in real time, this is what happens when I accept much less than I deserve. So you've learned that lesson and you are not selfish for wanting to be treated well. That actually means that you're aligning with the higher version of yourself that remembers that you were meant to be treated well the entire time. And that you being treated not well was never a reflection of what you deserve, but was simply the opportunity you signed up for to learn a specific lesson. Not everyone is your mirror. Sometimes the greatest lesson is witnessing the type of energy you'll never match, embody, or reflect. I said what I said. There is a wave of it coming in. Okay, so this is interesting. It's almost like there's a stockpile of spiritual downloads that have been waiting to come in for you, but something physical, like in the 3D, needed to become unstuck so that this perspective could kind of come in. So it almost feels like there's almost like usually you get a one file of a download at a time, and this is like a whole folder of downloads that want to come through. You planted the seed in some way of using what you learned from the past to overcome a wound that you couldn't remember the memory of. It's like you had certain pieces of the past that allowed you to heal what you otherwise could not remember that was still affecting you. It like still needed to be energetically cleared, but you couldn't access it. So you took a different way of accessing it. And because you did that, you have all these downloads that were previously kind of on hold. They're coming in now. And it's going to feel like you get a bunch all at once. Not a bad tower. A breathtakingly eye-opening tower that allows you to take your power back and see it's almost like the final key of you becoming the version of yourself that your inner child or childhood self always wanted to be. It's almost like there was this key that your inner child or childhood self was holding to give you at the right time to open up the safe and let all these downloads come through. And that is what is happening. Because whatever it is that you unstuck yourself from, it has something to do with the inner child. And this was a wish fulfillment of your inner child. Almost like your inner child or childhood self had this dream of like feeling what it feels like to witness yourself in an evolutionary state. So like this is you using all the practice rounds you had before and really stepping into this eye-opening awakening where whatever it was that was kind of making you feel disconnected from yourself in the past is no longer going to be an issue, no longer going to be a barrier. Because you trusted yourself to cut the right cords, to pivot in the right ways in terms of perspective and mindset. And it really is, it's like all at once, you're going to have what feels like a bucket of information downloaded into you. And you're just going to kind of have like a version of you before and a version of you after this happens. And it's going to feel like all the pieces of you came back together. Like a magnet being turned on. Okay, so imagine this. There's a magnet. There's a ball magnet on the table. And there's this magnetic puzzle that's all around, right? So this is like dropping the magnet and all of the puzzle pieces come back together so that you can then have them all like in your pocket and be able to put them into their proper order, if that makes sense. Infinite potential manifestation vortex, stellar gateway activation. So you are bringing back all the pieces of yourself to align with your highest potential, essentially. Like these are all the pieces that were already yours, but you left in certain areas to get the lessons of what it feels like to not be aligned with these pieces and then be realigned with these pieces. So whatever it is that is meant to come of this, it's like you're getting all the puzzle pieces and then the next step is putting them on the table, and that's what manifests this new opportunity or new era or new chapter for you. A rebirth. I'm going to draw something and then I'm going to pull a card and see if the words on the card match the picture that I draw. It's on a napkin, so there feels to be some significance to the napkin. It's time to turn your magic all the way on. This is the arrow, like magic was low, it's going up. 3, and the spiral is like the magician in tarot, as above, so below, the 3 elements, or the 3 mind, body, soul connection. And this would be the turning the mind, body, soul connection all the way up. You are being presented with a choice, evolve or remain. I wrote not on you, you are free. So whatever people were putting on you from the past, or trying to make you feel like you were stuck in an endless cycle of, it's not on you. Their projections are not you. You can free yourself. You're being presented with a choice, evolve or remain. And I drew you evolving, so now you have to do that because I already drew it. Where have you been? Where are you going? And in which direction are you growing? So let's start with, where have you been? What is like what you've been working on or working through for the last little bit? What we all have, the divine matrix, interconnectedness, synchronicity, and God incidences. So kind of being led by your higher power through the 3D matrix to find your way back to the divine matrix. So switching from 3D to 5D is where you've been. Where are you going? So what's your next destination? Star gathering, same color card too. Stars aligned, remembering home and soul family. Look at the similar colors. You go through this portal and end up here. I mean, simple. It's literally like jumping through here, and this is what you see. So where are you going? Interconnectedness and synchronicity. You've been discovering what that is, what that looks like, what that feels like. And then where you're going is aligning with that, remembering who you are, and finding the soul family to kind of traverse the rest of the mission with. And in which direction are you growing, or which way are you growing? Stellar gateway activation, infinite potential manifestation vortex. So look at this. You go through this portal, purple portal, go through this portal. This is what you've been learning, how to escape the 3D and align with the 5D. So you go through the portal, boop, there's the colors. The next step after you're kind of in that mindset, in that zone, is aligning with like-minded individuals, because we're stronger together. So you kind of gather those people, and then you come out the other side with infinite potential, ready as a collective to take on whatever needs to happen to bring the rest into the 5D with us. Go team. So I just heard very loud and clear, type into Google God's protection. It's going to be the first picture that comes up, and then after you click on that picture, the first picture. And I was like, okay. So I typed in God's protection, and immediately the first picture, they see the storm. That's all they can see. They feel like that's all that can be seen. That's the 3D. Under the hands there, the sun under the storm, the potential, the possibility after the storm, that's what God's protection allows you to see. It's a protection of perspective, where even in the storm, you know there will eventually be sun again, because you know that you're aligned with the source that created the weather, those things, right? You know that there's a light at the end, so long as you're connected to the light. They can only see the storm. They can only see the lightning, the scary thunder, the dark clouds, without being able to see the possibility, the potential, what's under those hands. Because they're choosing to not be connected with the divine that allows for that perspective of, it may be stormy now, but what can you learn in the storm that helps you appreciate the sun when it's back? And in the second picture, she's peeling away the darkness to see and show the light again. It's perspective as well. She could have just looked at this scene and said, nope, it's dark, I'm just going to be sad. But she found the pool of the corner and pulled it back to show the light. So first, God shows us that it still exists and it's possible, and it's up to us to find the way to bring it in. God's protection, in part, is a protection of perspective, allowing you to see the light that is still possible even in the most stormiest of moments. I just wanted to share that. I was about to get ready for bed, so somebody must need this message right now because it won't stop replaying in my mind. So here we go. I'm seeing this cave, and on one side, it's like a cave but a tunnel, right? So on one side, the side that you walked in, it's almost like very claustrophobic. Like you walked in and there's not a lot of wiggle room, right? It's like you kind of got propelled into squeezing through the tunnel any way you could just to kind of get through, right? So you've made it now to this clearing in the tunnel, in the cave tunnel, where you have a little bit more room to like stretch out, take up space. You're not all the way out yet, but when you were kind of crawling through, like clawing at the walls to get through the claustrophobic part, you started grabbing things and kind of bringing them with you, right? It's like, I grab this, I put it, and then I go. I grab. And now that you're in the clearing, you're able to kind of lay everything down in front of you and see what you have that you got from the clawing and climbing through the very tight space, right? So now you're able to put everything down and look at the tools that you have and start to incorporate the wisdom that you've gained through this experience. It's like you had the wisdom and you had the tools, right? But this is the stage where you're integrating them and figuring out how to use the wisdom to use the tools that you already had in a 5D way instead of a 3D way, if that makes sense. So you're not out of the cave yet. You're not out of the tunnel yet, because to get out, you need to use the 3D tools in a 5D way. And you have the knowledge and you have the tools. You just need to now sit and be the observer of what you have in front of you and allow yourself to say, okay, I learned this, I grew in this way, I have this that I can use. How do I use that to my advantage? And it's almost like once you do, there's going to be this kind of avalanche in front of you that opens up the exit of the cave tunnel. And this avalanche may feel, see, you're back from the avalanche, so you're witnessing it, okay? And this avalanche is occurring because you have cut ties with anyone who is siphoning off of your energy, anyone who is using you for their advantage, even though it put you at a disadvantage. It's like all of that, you're going to have to witness it crumble. Everyone else's false reality. You're going to have to allow it to crumble and not intervene. And once you do, you finally get to step out of the cage or the cave. Cage would work too. It feels like you may want to try and jump in and wake people up, but it's past the point of them being willing to work as a team with you to wake themselves up. It's like they have to come to that conclusion on their own. So you are about to break out of this tunnel. But essentially why I'm saying this is because as you put these tools to use, the 3D tools, as you use them in the 5D, that is your conscious decision that is saying, I'm going to use this in this way, knowing that I will no longer be a vibrational match of anything from my past. Anything that can't come with me, once I start to do this work, once I start to use these 3D tools from a 5D standpoint, I no longer vibrationally match with anything or anyone from my past that I had to leave behind. It's like once you walk out of that cave, you can't go back in. You will be forever changed by witnessing yourself using these tools from a higher dimensional standpoint. What message do your guides have for you about this? Say this to yourself. Dear little me, you took on so much that was never yours to carry. We can set it down now whenever you're ready. Love me. It's time to leave the cave. You've earned it. So I keep seeing this book from one of my oracle decks in my mind all day. So I'm going to pull a card and then we're going to just open to a random page and see what the message is, because over and over I keep being drawn to go pick it up. It is not logical to spend time explaining yourself to people who've proven they lack the depth needed to actually understand you. It's time to move forward. Initiation by water. Your spiritual path this lifetime involves you becoming a clear channel for spirit. You are meant to communicate with higher guidance from the loving spiritual worlds. Your initiation by water will further open your receiving channels, dislodge lower vibrational material, and sensitize you to the subtle realms of light. You are being opened to a world of which you may have only dreamed, such its beauty, grace, and love. So those who cannot understand the path that you're on, there's no need for you to try and convince or explain. You are quite literally in a place where you're being called to stop feeding into or engaging with any lower vibrational conversations or experiences. It's knowing that you know what you know about who you are, and that is enough. And those who are set on misunderstanding you can be set on it over there. They don't need to be in your energy field, in your aura, in your bubble. You are ready to go forward into a rebirth. Initiation by water, that's a rebirth. But you are rebirthing yourself here. This is, you've done certain work to reparent yourself in ways that need it to happen, and you're ready to move forward. So it's not about doing the work right now. Right now, it's about letting go of anything remaining from keeping you from just ascending forward into the next step on the process. You have been planted and you have watered and made sure the soil remained fertile, and you are ready to rebirth yourself. So the first step is cutting that cord with anyone or anything that does not serve the version of you that you are birthing into. It is not logical to spend time explaining yourself to people who have proven they lack the depth and water. They can't come with you into this rebirth. Lack the depth needed to actually understand you. It's time to move forward. The card said, I said what I said. Don't feel the need to translate your soul to anyone. If they don't understand, it's because your energies aren't speaking the same language. It's time. It's time to become who you have fought to become. You're shedding and stepping into a rebirth. Channeled message. You are about to discover and uncover in real time what it feels like to be in the position of the character role of God hiding you in plain sight. You were this vessel to bring in light, but in order to protect you until it was time, God had to hide you in plain sight. He had to conceal the strength of your abilities, your talents, until it was ready for you to believe in them the way that He does. Maybe not as much as He does. You're not there yet. He still believes in you a lot more than you're capable of right now, but you're getting there. And this is going to be a major step forward for you, because you're going to see, witness, people who doubted you have no other choice than to admit to themselves that they were incorrect. They are going to have to admit that they were duped by the enemy into thinking that you had no worth, no value. You were below them, you were less than. But they're going to feel very silly soon when they realize that it was there all along. And if they look back, they can see glimpses of what you were trying to show them, tell them, teach them, hold space for them. They can't look at you now and say, this is new. You weren't this before. They can only look at you now and then compare you to the you back then and say you might not have been healed back then, but you were the same person. You had growing and learning to do, but you were on your mission even then. Maybe even before you understood or knew your mission, you were still on a mission. And God set it up that way. He set it up that way so that now they'd have no other choice than to look back and realize they were the ones that was fooled into thinking that you did not have the light that you hold within. They're going to have to admit that you had it even back then. Even though you were not healed, even though you were not ready, God hid you in plain sight. And they have no other choice but to admit it. Family of light. God hid you in plain sight because you are one of His warriors, workers, children, vessels, channels. And they can't deny that now. So I'm hearing you're going to hop, skip, and leap forward. So I have 3 different decks. We're going to hop through what? So jump up and land into redemption. Okay. So jumping up and landing into redemption. Skip. So like a leap dance forward. The only way to win with a toxic person is not to play. Oh, leaving those who can't come with you into the redemption in the past. Cutting those cords. And leap. We are leaping through the portal of... So, redemption time is here. Leave anyone in the past that cannot come with you so that you can go through the portal of Akashic Records, clearing old stories, releasing past lives, and freedom. I'm hearing that song, It's the Final Countdown, that one. This is like the last call for anyone who can't come with you. It's like you're going to have opportunities to see if you're going to continue to hold on or if you let go. And if you let go, you get a big piece of understanding and understanding who you are and what your mission is. What do you need to hear a message about today? Let it come calm and naturally. Let it go calm and naturally. So if it comes, let it. If it goes, let it. What do we need to know? Whoop. You're very worried. You're very in your head about what is shifting in your life right now because you feel like you aren't in control of how it's being let go. It's almost like it's just being kind of trap door opening and things falling into it. And there's this anxiousness about like, what's next? What's going to happen next? What am I going to lose next? And is it going to hurt? Am I going to be able to handle it? Is it going to make me feel like I'm not in control? And it is. It's going to make you feel like you're not in control, and that is the purpose of it. It's putting you into observer mode so you can see how the things that you didn't really want to let go of, when you're in observer mode as they're being kind of ripped from you, you're seeing how they were affecting you beyond what your sight was allowing you to see. So things that are not meant to come forward with you are falling out of your life right now, and that may feel uncomfortable. But the discomfort is meant to push you into observer mode so you can learn from a higher perspective how certain things that were being allowed to continue, or certain things that you were still pouring energy into that weren't serving you, you can see exactly how they were affecting you and exactly why they were so hard to let go of. So the key here is to really stay in observer mode and be in flow with just accepting, if I'm intending to switch to a higher version of myself and I'm putting in the effort and energy to do that, then anything that's falling away from me is not in alignment with that higher version of myself. So I need to observe as it's leaving how it's affecting me so I can see what still needs to be healed, is essentially the message. Behind every strong person is a story that gave them no choice. I said it's like things being taken from you and it's not in your control. But look, you are a warrior. You are earning your spots, so to speak. Being in observer mode allows you to get the perspective of your higher self, to see why these things cannot align with the version of you going forward. So let it come calm and naturally. Let it go calm and naturally. Let's do one more. Life without knowledge is death in disguise. You are a seed. They thought they buried you only for you to rise up now with more knowledge, more strength, more power, and a higher perspective. And you are learning what aligns with the new higher version of you and what does not. And this card just got my attention. You are not selfish for wanting to be treated well. That involves and contains you treating yourself well as well, and allowing that which is not serving you well to fall away. What message do you need today from your spirit team? Some don't know or care what you had to overcome to speak from the place you are now at. Some don't know or care what you had to overcome to speak from the place that you are now at. What do we need to know about it? Leave people where they're at. If they are so set on not seeing the light in you, it's simply because the darkness that they are projecting is too great for them to see beyond. It's not an honest reflection back of you. there's a feeling of you took the path that is not traversed by many people, because many people just make excuses for their pain. Many people surrender to their situation or their circumstances, and they just let it overtake them, and you got back up and fought and didn't let it overtake you. You didn't let yourself stay stuck. So what people project onto you right now is not the truth of who you are. People are projecting darkness onto you because they don't want to see you get further than what they had envisioned for you. They don't want to hear you speak because they might not be very nice looking in your story. They might not be someone who's very trustworthy and warm in your story. Some people don't know or care how they affected you. They just would prefer you to forget instead of talking about it. Don't let other people dictate how you heal. It's not a group decision. People don't get to hurt you and then define what your healing looks like. People don't get to hurt you and then tell you how loud or soft your voice should be when you're healing. That's not up to them. If they want it to look better in your story, they should have acted better. It's interesting because there's people who try so hard to pull you out of character. But then when it comes time to show character, they have to hide theirs. They have to hope that the lights don't get turned on because they haven't worked on their character. They've only worked on trying to project their darkness onto your character, leaving theirs just as dark. Some people don't know or care what you had to overcome to speak from the place that you are now at. Don't let them silence you. Even if they're all coming at once, the victory is yours, and it comes through you standing back up, you releasing, expressing, and transmuting everything they tried to use to block you, shedding away everything that is not you, and healing. If most people really knew your story and all that you've been through, they'd wonder how you're still smiling. Be proud of yourself. This is for you if you are considering taking a major leap forward. There's something that you need to know so that you can feel secure while you're in the air of that leap. Like almost like to prevent buyer's remorse of what you're investing yourself into. You're not going to be able to see every single step. That is so that you remain flexible as things unfold. So it's okay if you don't have every single step planned out. You had to uproot what could not be in the soil with this manifestation. That's why certain things started to fall away recently or started to come to your attention. You are, when you are replanting or repotting a plant, that's what you're doing right now. So it may be a little uncomfortable, but it's because you're putting yourself from a smaller vase into a bigger vase so that you have more room to grow. Don't allow yourself to fall into analysis paralysis. There's a lot of options, a lot of paths you could take, but your intuition will help you narrow it down. Trust that. What is the password for you right now? Feel your feelings. The only way out is through. So when things come to the surface, don't numb yourself. They're coming to the surface because they can't come with you into the new soil. It'll ruin that soil. Allow yourself to feel so that you can release that heavy burden and create some magic. There's a friend of yours or an ex-friend of yours from the past that is now seeing you in a whole new light. You've walked away from this situation though. It's not someone who's still in your life. It's someone who's keeping tabs on you, trying to... It's like this person only has the access that you give to everyone else, like social media or something like that. But because of your social media or whatever it is, they see that you've changed. You're not who you used to be. And they are who they used to be. They are the exact same person that you knew way back then without any growth or evolving. And this person wants to reach out to you, but they feel very stuck. They feel, I'm getting the energy of like, I'm sharpening my blade here, but not in a bad way. Blade in terms of like communication. Like this person is going over and over in their head what angle they would take to approach you, what they would say to you, how they think you would react or respond. And they're delaying taking any action, taking any steps forward, because it just feels like you and this person live in completely different worlds now. And why this is important is because you can feel this person pulling on your energy. You can feel this person thinking about you. You can feel this person wanting to take the leap, but not taking the leap. You can feel that this person has something they want to say. And you're kind of curious why you keep thinking of this person or why you keep being reminded of this person kind of out of nowhere. And it's because this person is wanting to come forward and communicate with you, but stopping or blocking themselves from doing so. And really what they want to say to you is that you don't recognize how this could even be, but you have inspired this person to get back up and start to figure out, how can I rebuild a sense of community, a sense of what it is that they believe you to have that they are lacking because they haven't taken certain action towards creating that for themselves. They're looking at you and they're inspired. They're like, how can I move forward? How can I create what it is that I want to say jealous of? They're jealous of what they feel like you have or what they see that you have, and they don't have it. They feel left behind, even though they didn't necessarily put in effort to the connection. And they're trying to figure out, how can I not feel this way? What can I do to achieve what it is that I'm jealous of? So this person wants to come forward and not tell you that, but just kind of see how you would or would not engage with them. And it's really because they're inspired by you. They have seen you grow into what they aspire to grow into. Even though you're not where you want to be yet, you're way beyond where you were back then. And I think that sometimes we forget that. We get caught up in, okay, things aren't happening as quickly as I'd like them to. But just think about this. Someone from your past is looking at you in awe of the growth that you sometimes overlook about yourself. Allow that to help you shift perspective on how far you've really come since this person was in your life. Imagine being the same version of you that you were back then, which you're not. And then imagine how inspiring that would be to someone who hasn't made the same progress. You've gone through hard stuff, but it was for a reason. And this is part of the reason. To be an inspiration for those who weren't made quite uncomfortable enough to do the hard work that you did. Because now they're coming into being uncomfortable enough to look at you for inspiration and say, I should have taken this path with you instead of against you. You broke the final chain. You don't necessarily see proof of this in your reality yet, but very soon, in a matter of a few weeks, you'll be able to look back at today and say, I did break that chain. I did detach from what was previously keeping me stuck. And this is happening because you did the work. As you watched, and this is the key here. You watched other people be rewarded. You watched other people get abundance or wish fulfillment or connections or whatever it was that you desired. You stood by as you watched all of the people who went against you, all of the people who were putting out bad into the world. You watched all of them get what seemed like rewarded. But you stayed true and authentic to knowing who you are and not stooping down to their level, stepping on others to get ahead. You refused to do that. And that was the test. You were being tested, but so were they. And their abundance that was coming in, that was proof of that. That was proof of them choosing to be rewarded earthly so that they did not do spiritual work. And this was a temporary gain for them. We're switching into the energy of the first shall be last and the last shall be first. And those who were rewarded or seemingly rewarded that were doing bad deeds, that were coming against you, that was part of their test. And that abundance is proof that they failed it, because they chose to keep doing dirty deeds to get earthly rewards. So it doesn't seem like it yet. But you have broken that last chain that was holding you back, because you refused to become like the world, and you refused to continue the cycle of hurt people hurt people. You did not. Coming together, harmony in the heavens, resolution. You did not mesh in with energies that were contradictory to who you know you are at your core. And because of that, you're going to start to come together. This even kind of looks like a tree, like chained back to a tree, and you finally have broken loose. And now you can go find the other people, harmony in the heavens, resolution, coming together. You're going to start to come together with those who have had similar experiences, and they too have not taken the bait to step on people to get earthly rewards. There's this energy of, you know, when you're like pulling on something that's holding you back and then it finally breaks free and you rush forward. It's almost like that's happening for a bunch of people all at once. And instead of just flying forward and tripping, it's designed so that we're all kind of running in towards each other and catching one another instead of falling. I'm hearing shock waves, like there's going to be shock waves from the joining and the coming together of those who refused to be of the world. We're in the world, but we refuse to become like the example that the world shows us that we should be. And because of that, we're going to find one another and cause major waves. Earth star activation. Anchoring, grounded action, Isis energy. So we're coming together, and it's going to be quite literally groundbreaking. Because those who looked like they were rewarded are going to need to turn to those who refused to stoop down to that level to show them how to get realigned with the essence of who they are, which is not of the world either. That's trickery that they fell into. But it's switching into the part where we get to recognize that was not the right choice. It may have looked like they were getting rewarded for some time, but things are going to shift. You're getting ready to close out a major cycle, and you have, in essence, the world in your hands. You have more possibilities than you've had in a very long time or ever, about to come to you or already coming to you. You have this energy of finding a missing piece of what helps you make sense to you. Like, you make sense to you more now since you've gotten this missing piece. And it wasn't necessarily missing, it was just kind of under some fogginess of what you needed to do to protect yourself, because you were on your own in a few battles that really got you having to be flexible in ways that you didn't know how to be flexible. So you had to learn how to maneuver your way through certain obstacles that were unexpected. But in essence, you avoided the worst of it. And it's because you had this deeper understanding that you were working towards a deeper understanding of who you are. So you weren't looking at these things as punishments. You were looking at them as lessons, as I'm learning about my mission here. I'm learning about who I am to fulfill the mission here. You kept looking at each step in that way. And because of that, you're having more options to share what you now can better understand about yourself. If you sat down to a nice little picnic with your spirit team, what message would they have for you right now? Luck is coming into being on your side here. You must not rush forward, but where there previously was lack of freedom, there's an ending of something that was heavy or like claustrophobic type energy. That is dissipating because you have gained a higher perspective on a situation and the lesson behind why you were stuck. You're working towards happiness coming in because, again, the wheel is about to turn in your favor. There's going to be a celebration as you put down this heavy burden here. You overcame the lesson of self-love. And because you overcame the lesson of not allowing others to dictate the amount of self-worth you feel within you, you have decided and put into effect you determine your self-worth. It is not a group discussion. And because of that, we have victory, we have celebration. Look at this diamond right here. That's a very powerful and positive diamond. You have the wheel turning in your favor, bringing you wish fulfillment and celebration, maybe even some community, definitely some type of community, whatever that looks like for you. Family, friends, loved ones, all finally celebrating you.